I just need like a beat, and then I'm just gonna jump in because I don't want that conversation to continue. That's the second time you've brought up lotion. Don't move your hand anywhere near.
When you want to wrap
Sean, how much skin is showing?
How does my hair look?
No. I'm gonna give you a tap with like a 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
All right, I'll give you a tap.
That's not
when
gonna be
you're
the
not ready.
starting.
All right? You're gonna feel double taps. Just both sides.
Yeah,
you just see her underneath. You're just gonna see Adrian.
Hello and welcome to. I almost tried. I almost did. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Exit Only Theater podcast. I'm JP Lee, and with me, as always, I'm gonna make him say it this time.
Adrian, how you doing?
There you go. And special guest,
Michael.
there you go. No last names. We're.
Sounds like you're saying cocaine.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
My
okay.
cocaine.
Yeah. What was that actually what you were saying? Because I just assumed.
My cocaine.
He's saying Michael
Is
Caine.
that what
That's
I was
right.
saying? My cocaine.
It's okay. He said last night he was talking about bacon. He kept saying pecan. I thought he said pecans. I was so confused.
Speaking of
I
cocaine,
bought it at Target.
Speaking of cocaine, Zootopia broke the record for, I guess, best open for a Disney animated film with $73.7 million this past weekend, beating Big Hero 6.
Yay.
I don't know exactly how to start this because there's so many things that this film offers for every age group.
Yes.
Real quick synopsis: it's about a character named Judy Hopps, who is a bunny from a kind of rural town, and she's been told her whole life to settle because that's safer and it's what you're supposed to do when you're a bunny. And it just follows her journey of wanting to be a police officer. And it's the whole arc. She meets a con artist named Nicholas Wilde, and their journey ensues. Kind of becomes sort of a buddy cop film, 48 Hours-esque, I guess.
Yes.
like a two-hander, as they would say in the biz.
Yes.
Sure. That's our authority in the biz.
What kind of biz are we talking about?
Yeah, I don't
I don't like my
going.
two-handers, man.
It's like, boop.
No comment.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll let that one ride.
Two hands. Okay, I'm going to continue this one.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. So
And 3 and 2 and okay, but go now.
we're good. Are we good?
Go on 2. 3, 2.
Okay, jumping back into this topic because I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. If I'm supposed to do, we're falling
Zootopia.
apart. Zootopia. I like keep making eye contact with the camera because if I just look away from these two, maybe
Conflict
I'll
arises.
get back into
Slow
the
pan
point.
in.
What do you think of the movie?
Thank you that you did that in 3 seconds. That took me 2 minutes to even get to. What did you think about the movie?
Ty loved it. I saw going in that it was it's pretty long for like an animated movie.
Yeah, it was like something like 2 hours and 5
It was
minutes.
close to 2 hours
Yeah.
of credits, I think. But I didn't care.
No, I wanted it to be longer, honestly.
I thought that. I think of front to back, like this movie, like it was. You can tell like the painstaking efforts to make even the little small parts of this movie just so great. There's so many little jokes in the movie, like there's so many attention to details on small little stuff, and just
That's what I appreciated.
little references like here and there. Like there's so many things like I could watch this 3-4 times and still find things I never picked up on. So it has that layer, and it's still also just the movie itself is just so entertaining. And I never would have thought in 2016 that I would be going to a kids movie. And I would see a reference to the movie Speed in the middle of a climactic chase.
And it's such a
But it
perfect
works,
short
it's
moment.
perfect.
I couldn't agree more. I think it tackles really difficult topics, but in a way that doesn't go over the heads of kids who will take from it what they can, I think, at certain ages. I think if your kids are under 4, they maybe shouldn't go because it's actually fairly aggressive. Like, it starts out pretty oh, shock. I had kids behind me when we saw it that were a little confused and needed to leave, and that was a mess.
The dad needed to leave. I don't know about the
That's
kids.
true, too. There's a dad that was just very vocal. But
I mean, it depends of if you were to compare this to like some of the older Disney movies, like this is fine. This is tame. Like I feel like people might think it's it's too aggressive for little kids, but like honestly, like I watch Bambi, I watch Jungle Book, a lot of horrible things happen.
That's
in
true.
that.
That's true.
And
There's a lot of heavy
I
themes.
think I'm okay. Like, I didn't grow up too demented.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying it might not be the best example, but
I jumping right on what you said. I loved it. I thought it was outstanding. I think obviously just even though it's in the Disney family, to compare it with the Pixar movies, like if you take Pixar away from what Pixar has done, this was pretty. This holds up even against some of their best films.
Yeah, I would argue that as well.
Overall, like the things that I kind of took away from it, I thought animation was great. We saw it in 3D, which was awesome. It looked amazing. It definitely added something to it. But yeah, there were a lot of really there was a lot of really interesting like themes, and they were able to nail them and dress them up in a way that they could have, like, for instance, like when the movie deals with race, like that's what it's pretty obvious. Yeah. But they dressed it up in such a way that I thought was just very like they weren't beating your head over it or anything like that. And I thought it was crazy effective. I loved it. It was funny. I thought Jason Bateman as the Sly Fox was so good.
There's something to that. There is something I read that said that the film itself, 18 months ago, when they were pretty deep in development and animating some sequences, they originally, this entire film was based around Nicholas Wilde's character, which was Jason Bateman's character. And even that late into the process, they felt something was wrong, that someone who had such a negative perception of what this city was, like he's the character that sort of feeds into what stereotypes are in society. And he's like, if people see me as a Sly Fox, I'm just going to be the Sly Fox because it's easier and no one's going to look at me differently anyway. That attitude didn't work well with the creative team, and they actually switched the perspective completely and put it to this bunny character, and I think it works perfectly.
It was awesome.
I think it was a genius move, and I agree with you. I mean, like, if you take away the movie Inside Out from Pixar, Zootopia is, I think, better than anything Pixar has done in the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's quite terrific, and
it's so brain dead.
I know, like we looked up before the show. If you looked at the Disney Animation Studios, the last 3 that go ahead and do that.
Yeah, the last, I would say the last 4 in general. So Pixar had Brave, which was critically acclaimed, but a lot of people were kind of iffy about it. It just didn't seem as exciting as some of its earlier works. Monsters University, which, not bad. It's a fine movie, exactly. Yeah. Pixar's better than that, so it's not. It would have been a good other studio. I won't disparage others, but Inside Out, which obviously we loved, and The Good Dinosaur, which was Pixar's first flop. So of those 4 films, 3 of the 4 weren't exactly revered.
Yeah. But then you go Disney Animation Studios.
Disney Animation, the last 4, just going the last 5, I mean, because you have Tangled, which is sort of the start of it all, I would say.
Yeah.
Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, and Zootopia. Yeah. And that's a hell of a docket. That's huge.
Wreck-It Ralph is probably like one of my favorite movies, period.
Yeah.
Not just animation movies, like of the past few years. Like, it's amazing. It's spot on. I thought Zootopia same thing. Like, Zootopia, like, obviously, like, it's March. A lot of stuff coming down the pipe and stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if Zootopia is on my top 10 at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like it's living there now, and I don't see anything really being good enough to top it.
No, not at all.
I would say that there's something to the fact that there's been an ebb and flow between Disney Animation and Pixar, because in, I think, 2006 is what I want to say.
Yeah.
So when Disney invested and bought Pixar, part of that stipulation was that John Lasseter, who's sort of the creative genius behind Pixar, and Ed Catmull, who's sort of the other mind that doesn't get enough credit, they said that they needed to be a part of sort of the Disney animation process and Pixar. They had to sort of merge creative teams. And that way it gave Disney Animation a new lease on life, because their creative process became exactly what Pixar was doing, where it was people sat at tables and meetings and just fleshed out stories until they were perfect, and then they would go to the next step, where it seemed like Disney Animation was going through a lot of the motions. My issue is, do we think that we're going to start seeing? Can Pixar and Disney Animation exist at a similar level for an extended period of time?
Yeah, it's
because there are a lot of the same voices in those.
The way I would relate it to, it's what I hope to see in the way Marvel does their superhero movies and the way DC does their superhero movies.
But they're completely self-contained is the difference.
Yeah, that's true, but the way I'm gonna relate it is just, and like from the way they build their individual stories, I'm gonna relate it to where, like, the way DC needs to build their individual universe. Okay. So where even though they're developing a really long form story over a period of movies, it's like I want to see that competitive edge that Marvel gives to DC, where it's like, hey, we have to sit down and we have to make sure we put out the best timeline for a story that we can put out there. And I think with these, obviously we're seeing that it's bringing out the best in them.
Yeah.
And they're knocking it out of the park, like, amazingly now. Like, they have Moana coming out. It's a Hawaiian-based story.
Yep.
The Rock is attached to it.
Yep.
Like, that's amazing. I want to see that.
That's enough. Yeah, it's enough said.
Yeah. It's I think also, don't forget of like when did they get a hold of Disney Animation? It was like 10 years ago, something like that.
Pixar was bought out by Disney, I think, in 2006. Yeah.
Can you see like all this investment of time and money and people, like, and you're starting to kind of see it now, like you saw with Wreck-It Ralph, and you're starting to see all that now. These animated movies, like, they take forever.
Years.
Yeah.
Like, if you look up Pete Docter, who he did Inside Out, he did Up, and he did Monsters Inc. The time between Up and the time between Inside Out is like
6 years.
I think it's like 7.
Well,
Yeah.
2009
Yeah.
to 2015.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Or 2008 to 2000. Yeah, 6 or 7 years.
If you want to be mathematical.
Sorry.
sure,
Yeah.
Sorry.
it
But with
took him-
development, you're right. It's a
he
chunk
didn't
of time.
I mean, there's stuff in there that you won't see on his IMDb page that he's probably working on and stuff, but like,
Yeah.
he didn't really do anything else in that time period.
Yeah.
Like, these animated movies take like 2, 3, sometimes like 4 years with development.
Yep.
And so, like, if you are in a rut, like, you're going to see the ripple of that rut. It's going to take you like 5, 6 years. And I think you kind of saw that with the Cars 2 and the Monsters Inc. and all that stuff. In the same sense, around that time when you're getting that stuff, like, you know, they were injecting new blood into Disney animation.
Yeah.
And you're seeing, like, the effects of that now. And I think, like, in, like, for everyone that wants to jump on and say, like, we're worried about Pixar, I think you give it a couple more years, they're going to level out and they're both going to be amazing. Well, I mean, like, it basically happened. I mean, I know Pixar's been a little rough lately and stuff, I mean, but within the same year of, like, 12-month period,
Yeah.
they released Frozen and they released Inside Out, and they were like less than a year apart. So clearly, they've already been able to do it.
Yeah.
That I think I agree to a certain extent, but part of me is thinking it's not necessarily they're both going to be just top tier. They're still going to be the two best.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of their where everyone else is still struggling to keep up with them, I think it's going to be more of an ebb and flow because Pixar is falling victim to sequel syndrome right now. And that's great for people like us who grew up with these movies. Of course I'm looking forward to Finding Dory and Incredibles 2 if that ever happens, and Toy Story 4, even though I'm a little concerned about that. But like, I want to see those movies, but they've built properties that sort of require that as sort of the nature of the business. Whereas I think Disney Animation in 4 or 5 years will do that and be stuck in that situation is where Pixar can go back into doing their own stuff. So I feel like it's going to go back and forth. But right now we're in the middle where it's like they're both doing really good work. But I feel like Pixar might have to slide a little bit more, and Disney Animation's still going to continue to do top tier stuff.
Yeah.
Then Frozen 2 will come out, and that's going to be fine. But like, I think it's going to be more of an ebb and flow than we're willing to admit. But that's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me.
How about this? I have a question for you guys. Now, even though like it's a win-win situation, let's say you're buying a DVD for your niece who's like 8 years old. Which was the first one that you want to get them? Would it be Zootopia or would it be Inside Out? I would pick Zootopia.
For kids, Zootopia.
I love Zootopia.
Yeah. Inside Out is
It's
such a good movie, though.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough.
How would go Zootopia in the sense of, I mean, I love Inside Out. I love Inside Out more, but I don't know at what age you honestly like.
Well, you'll get it.
Show a kid
Yeah.
Inside Out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of like traumatic stuff will happen.
I don't want to destroy her with the Bing Bong sequence.
Oh God, the Bing Bong scene.
But back to like Zootopia. Like what I love about it the most was that Disney just could have made a talking animals movie. Like, hey, look, these guys are just like people.
Like Rio.
Like or Madagascar. Like it's
And they could have made of like a talking animal movie that's a race allegory and stuff, and you see exactly where it goes and stuff.
Yeah.
And it could have been like blunt and over the head, and yeah, it's a little blunt, but just the right amount, especially for a kids movie.
Yeah.
But even like knowing that, hey, this is going to be about nice movies about racism, about prejudice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it still surprised me, like, in the places that it went.
Yeah.
Of the final message of the movie, like, wasn't exactly what I was expecting right away.
I agree
And
with
I
that.
think they actually were. To nowhere in this movie did they take the easy way out and just go like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I respect the hell out of them for,
Mhm.
is that they went the extra mile and everything. Like, they tried to push it to be the best that it could. Like, just even in the basic story, and the whole thing just shines for it.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think that the theme is complicated and it's not afraid to go there.
Yeah.
It's not just stereotypes are bad and you should evolve as people.
Yeah.
It's really like stereotypes sometimes there's a ring of truth to some of them, but they come from a cycle of, and I wrote it down, a cycle of hatred. There's a really good article about it. And it's like sort of we're victims of the bias that we surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
So it's like, she says something at the end in that epilogue, and she, like, the Hops character says, real life is messy. That's what it is. Like, kids may get a buttoned up version of the two of them, you know, having a nice conclusion, but the theme is presented in a way that isn't afraid to go that extra step.
Yeah.
So.
And like, how amazing is that a kid's movie is basically just like, life's pretty complicated, like, it's not going to get solved. When I can't even expect, like, a presidential candidate to say that out loud.
Oh my God.
But a kid's movie is like, hey, this isn't going to solve everything, like, life's messy.
And it was, and like going back to what you said, like it was complex, not so much, and like aside from it just being like how they chose to present it, but also depicting how, like, what characters they wanted to highlight their role in everything in that case was. For instance, the spoilers, the little short lamb little chop thing is like the assistant mayor.
Oh yeah,
Fellwether
or Bellwether.
I thought that was a nice little thing. Like, obviously no kid's gonna catch that, but like for us, it's at every level, and they chose to highlight that in the subtlest of ways, and it works. And I thought that was really awesome. I remember after we came out of the movie, from just the aspect of just like the whole, like, the drug thing that they, like, the little blueberry thing, whether if you want to like relate that to how drugs are used or like controversially shown in certain neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods. You know, I was saying, I'm like, wow, this is as pretty close to an animated version of New Jack City as I've ever seen.
Yeah, you did say
and
that
I'm
right
like,
off the bat.
like, it's obviously not exactly like that, but I'm like, that was really smart. Like, I thought that was really awesome. I enjoyed it. Like you said, they didn't pick a side. And I wouldn't say this pushed the envelope at all, but at least it showed us, like, hey, this is the envelope. We're showing you the envelope.
It can ask questions, but still give a plot that has a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to answer everything, but it's willing to ask the questions.
Yeah.
It starts the conversation. It doesn't do it in like a patronizing way of like, racism is bad.
No, right.
Like, of course racism is bad. I think we all are understanding that racism is pretty bad.
Yeah.
But like
it gets to the root of it.
Yeah, like, it's complex characters, complex situations, and like, honestly, like, it made me think about my own life and some stuff.
Yeah.
I that's building off of that. I think this film and Inside Out being the two, I think, most prevalent. The Good Dinosaur, people kind of shun to the side, but those two films talk about mental health and race relations in animated films that are geared towards kids. So Disney and Pixar are doing exactly what we want them to do, and I hope that they continue doing so.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward going forward. On speaking on like them pushing the envelope when it comes to race relations. Like I said before, like they're making Moana. It's a Hawaiian-led cast of Hawaiian characters. Yeah, it's very much like that. So I'm like, I'm excited. I like what they're doing. Bring it on, man. Good job, Disney. Hey. Yeah.
It's great to see that there's another Disney renaissance and not just the ones that we grew up with in the 90s.
Yeah.
So.
And that, like, like you said, like, there was the Disney renaissance in the 90s, and then, like, it was just a bunch of sequels to all of the Disney renaissance.
And like Home on the Range.
And kind of like...
Or whatever the movies were.
Everything post-Hercules.
Yeah, that's basically it.
And it kind of like, well, it's Lilo and Stitch.
I've never seen it.
Oh, I thought the animation looked like garbage. But
I've never seen
right.
it. Yeah. I've never seen it.
Yeah, like there is a kind of like...
There's a dip.
Yeah. There's a dip and ebb and flow like in all of like all the Disney stuff. Of like, but it's just...
It's good to have him back.
It's just like it's just like a shot of... I was going to say shot of fresh blood. I don't know what that is.
Pound it over down.
You're mixing some metaphors.
Shot of fresh air.
No.
That's not...
No, there's definitely not such thing as a... Anybody know what we're talking about?
Sounds like don't ask me.
No. We can't edit that one out. Nope, not at all.
It's a breath of fresh air. Okay, it's a breath of fresh air.
Is this like Wild Wild West?
It's a shot of fresh blood. I didn't say that one. You can put that in the books.
Vampire.
Yeah.
That's gonna be. It's if you could, just like right across the bottom, like that's like
This is what he meant.
that's our new motto. Is just like
It's
the
a
exit
shot
only
of fresh
theater.
blood.
It's a shot of fresh blood.
Shot of fresh blood.
On that note,
On the review of Zootopia, shot of fresh blood.
just like the headline. Well, go check out Zootopia. That's
It's awesome,
basically
yeah.
what we're saying. It's a shot of fresh blood.
It's awesome.
Tell everyone you know, go see it.
Exactly. I'm JP Lee, Adrian Alderette, special guest Michael Kingery, Sean Howard doing everything that he always does with his Jedi hoodie
Why
on.
do you have your hood up?
Oh,
God damn
it's
it.
freezing in here, and he never fixes it, so he's just sitting there like a Jedi master in the corner. But just thank you so much for tuning in. For Exit Only Theater, we'll see you when the credits roll. So uncomfortably close.